Double dog dare you.
He only has like 4 more of these. How you doing, Ed?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, March 27th. Mr. Clerk, would you lead us in the Pledge of the Flag?
Yes, ma'am. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we've got a full agenda tonight, starting off at 6:30 with Organization, Pledge of Allegiance, Read Mail. 6:35, our state legislators will be joining us, State Senator Jamie Eldred and State Representative Jim Arcero. 7:05, Public Input, Members Updates, Selectmen Goal Updates. 7:10, Master Plan Update, Joint Meeting with Master Plan Update Steering Committee and Planning Board. 7:40, Treasurer, Insurance Advisory Committee recommendations on group health insurance plan design changes. 8 p.m., public hearing, common particular license, Ronobir Malik, manager, the Bay State Yogurt Company doing business as Menchie's. 8:05, 4 items under annual, May 1st, 2017, annual and special town meetings. A, determine order in which articles appear on the warrants. B, refer zoning articles to planning board. C, adopt town meeting article recommendations and article assignments. And D, FY 2018 operating and capital budget updates. 8:45, Town Administrator, Assistant Town Administrator. A, Town Clerk, dedication of the 2016 Annual Town Report. B, Community Compact Information Technology Grant Application. C, Virginia Sprong Foundation donation to town departments. And finally, at 8:55, we'll end with other business, which is minutes approval. All right, so that takes us to mail, please. Mr. Bergman.
Madam Chair, just a couple of items in the packet. One was just an update on the Bos Mar last mile forum with Transportation Secretary Stephanie Pollack that was sponsored by the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. I used, since I convened the meeting as MAPC chair and could pick any town as by way of example of the transit issues, as the slides show, I picked Littleton, hardly at random, but we had a chance to talk about some of our needs, which is to figure out a way to have some kind of fixed route shuttle that connects our commuter rail station with employment centers and other places in town. So that is something that is actively being worked on. There's some resources that we may be able to bring to bear to help us solve that issue, but it was helpful to have it on the radar screen.
Great.
He's been very supportive with our commuter rail service and schedule thus far. Also, we received by email on Friday a notice from FEMA that our hazard mitigation plan, which the board voted to approve last fall, and it was submitted first to MEMA, the Massachusetts Emergency Management Administration, is now in an approvable form by the federal government. So we will bring the matter of approval of our plan to the next regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen. So that's great news that there are no edits that are required of the plan. The plan as submitted by MAPC is in good form. So that's it.
Awesome.
We have our guest,
How are you?
Just in
Good to see
time.
everybody.
Welcome.
Senator Rep. How are you?
Doing great. Sorry we're a little late, but
You're right on time. Literally, just stepped right
Perfect.
up to the plate as we're transitioning.
Here.
So thank you both for taking time out of your schedules to join
Cold
us.
off the
Always good
press.
to see you both. Thank you for everything you do
Getting
for
this far.
Littleton, the communities you serve, and Massachusetts.
Thank you.
All right, I think we gave you a kind of a punch list of stuff that we might
Just a
want
few
to talk
things,
about.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a few things.
The same
I'm
length
sure
as
they're
last year.
discussionable.
Is there double sided this, Keith, or
Yeah.
just
No,
one
no.
side? Okay, sorry.
Single space.
Well, thank you for having us. First and foremost, I'm sure on your mind, as all the members of the board, as well as the town of Littleton, is on the senator's mind. We've both been appointed to the Ways and Means Committee, so it's been budgets all day with us. The senator chaired a Fall River hearing just this morning,
today, yep.
and we've been sort of on the road across the state, crisscrossing the state to different committee hearings, looking towards first the House budget, and then further the Senate. But the governor came out, as all of you know, with his House 1 version of the budget at the end of January. This budget was about $40.5 billion, an increase of about 1.6, almost 1.7 billion over last fiscal year. A good portion of that was specific to healthcare, which is almost 44 to 45% of the $40 billion state budget. Moving forward, the governor, his figures, about a $91 million increase in Chapter 70, which is about $20 per student throughout 351 cities and towns and through all the school districts, and about a $40 million increase in local aid to cities and towns as well. So the process moving forward, and I think I'd like to do it for the audience as well as the membership here. I know the members are pretty, understand this process pretty well, but the 12th of this month, of April, the House is going to be coming out with our version of the budget. So constitutionally, we have to have a balanced budget every fiscal year, and that process starts at the end of January when the governor comes out with his. April 12th, the House will come out with our budget as we conclude some of our House committee hearings and then joint committee hearings. And the Senate, usually the second to third week around that time in May, we'll see a version of the state budget as well. And the senator, you probably have a little more remarks when it comes to the Senate budget, but it's been kind of an interesting time. It's been sort of a frustrating time in some ways. You see consumer confidence and business confidence, the highest we've seen in 15 years. Unemployment has been the lowest in about 14 years. We're around about a 3.2 to 3.3% unemployment, a lot lower here in the town of Littleton and some of the other parts of the district that I represent as well. But there's been some, a few things that I thought would be interesting to talk about. And that is, how did the budget get to sort of where it is? Why is there question marks sometimes that there's shortfalls? And for instance, it's very relevant to Littleton. Last year in the budget, the senator and I put forward a $100,000 earmark for the Littleton Police for a communication system. It ended up being whittled down to $50,000. And then when the Governor Baker put forward his 9C powers, he cut that money. And the process has been somewhat frustrating because we went through the same process with Castle in the Trees, which was $100,000. We dealt with a veto from the governor. We overrode the governor, and then we were able to have that funding. This particular case, we were underperforming, and like I said initially, we have to have a balanced budget every fiscal year, but we were underperforming by about $134 million. And the governor has his powers to make specific cuts in the budget when he's feeling uneasy about those shortfalls. A lot of the difference is when I bring up how do we sort of get in this? We've met with economists, we've had consensus revenue hearings, and they haven't pinpointed one particular reason. We have less in our capital gains than we've ever had in the last 5 years. The income tax rollback that was passed in 2000 incrementally is moving back to 5%. We're almost there. I think it's scheduled this January in 2018 to move back. I think that's over $100 million. Our healthcare budget. Right now, when you look at the pie of the almost $40.5 billion, 2/3 of the budget is obligatory spending, whether that's through bonding, whether that's through healthcare, through Chapter 70, through the MBTA. These are fixed costs that are part of our budget. So that 1/4 of the 1/3 of that budget is, debatable within members. We have to have priorities in terms of not only local aid, but social services, human services, public safety. So it becomes, a $40 billion budget sometimes gets really small when it comes to budget time in terms of what you can actually change, what you can actually add to. So I think the last 4 months moving forward are going to be, very reflective on how this budget's going to go. And the last 4 months of the fiscal year are always the most robust. So there was recently a meeting, it's kind of an impromptu meeting with the Senate President, the Speaker, and the Governor. And they all agreed that this last 4 months are really going to be reflective on how the budget's really going to look. So we feel confident that things are moving in the right direction budget-wise. But as we move forward, I know the March, at the end of February revenues have been up. So we feel very confident that these last 3 months are going to reflect an increase for the budget. And by the time that the Senate budget comes out with their version, I think we're going to feel confident that we're at the very least going to have the same numbers that the governor has, if not more. But we feel confident that we're not going to decrease from last year's fiscal year, nor the governor's fiscal year when it comes to local aid in Chapter 70.
Now it's
Senator,
now
it's all on you.
So thanks very much for having us before the board, and I don't want to repeat what Representative Arciero said. I did want to touch upon, talking about the revenue situation right now, and his mentioning the fact that Governor Baker did use his 9C powers to eliminate virtually all earmarks and a number of funding for some important programs, is that I still think there's a little bit of hope that we could do a sub-budget to restore some of those cuts. I don't know if that's going to be any of the earmarks, because there were other programs, including like cuts to mass health, but I know that we're both advocating for the sub-budget that would restore some of the cuts that happened in December by Governor Baker. So we'll certainly keep the Littleton earmark in mind and advocate for all earmarks to be restored, but not sure if that'll be possible. I did provide you a handout just with my budget priorities, and I met with Senator Spilka, the Senate Chairwoman of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. So I won't go through it in too much detail, but I do think it's important to remember to point out, and these are some of the first items on my letter, is that the issue of revenue. It's important to remember that Governor Baker actually in his budget did propose to raise a fairly significant amount of revenue, about $600 million. Most of that was through an assessment on employers who didn't provide health insurance to their employees. I'm not that confident that'll happen, but I did want to highlight some revenue sources that I would consider. And I think it's important to remember that, as discussions happen on the federal budget, is that there is possible that there could be some significant cuts from the federal government to healthcare, education, environment. So I just highlighted some of the possible revenue sources is closing corporate tax loopholes, which is something I've taken a look at for a long time. There's a bill that both Representative Arciero and I have co-sponsored to increase the filing fees, to increase the match for the Community Preservation Act. I know Littleton's done a terrific job with CPA money, but we also know that I think that match is down to about 27%. So this would get it back up to at least 50%. So it would double the filing fees that are the source of the state match. So that's a bill that is in the legislature. It hasn't been heard yet. And then another proposal, which has gotten a fair amount of press in the Globe and other papers, is the Airbnb revenue. So, I think one of the important things to think about is as people are, renting out their homes or apartments and earning additional income through Airbnb, there's an opportunity to regulate and to capture some of that revenue. The important thing is that revenue shouldn't just be, for just the cities and towns where it's happening the most, but also making sure that revenue benefits all communities. So that's something that's important. I don't know how substantial Airbnb is in Littleton, but we want to make sure that Littleton gets its fair share of that revenue. So those are some of the revenue sources I'm taking a look at, and then the budget priorities. One of them, which I think the House and Senate are taking up this week, is the Chapter 90 money, which I know has been a priority for Littleton, is the money for your roads and bridges. So we're hoping to take that up and pass that this week. Then, of course, there's Chapter 70, and the important point to realize about Chapter 70, and this is on the second page, number 4, is last session the legislature created the Foundation Budget Review Commission to look at the Chapter 70 education formula, recognizing that cities and towns weren't getting their fair share of education aid, and put together recommendations that would benefit all communities. So every school district would get an increase of general education money, and then also providing more state funding for special education, which often can be a a burden for smaller communities like Littleton. So, we're hoping to begin implementing those recommendations. Obviously, it takes revenue to accomplish that. Other than that, and this is just continuing on page 2, we certainly continue to be big advocates for investments in public transportation. Obviously, very pleased about the Littleton train station, such a success that we know we need more parking in Littleton. And both Jim and I have been in touch with the MBTA about, possibilities of, accessing more of that MBTA land for parking. And I know just talked to Keith about that earlier today. Maintaining social safety net services, including serving those with disabilities and the elderly. You have a great COA here, just providing additional support for the programs for Council on Aging. Investments in water, libraries, public schools, and then the last item, which is, I really think sort of a legacy of this Senate district, going back to former State Senator Bob Duran and Pam Reesor, both of whom I work for, is protecting the environment. What we're trying to do is make sure that we get back to 1% of the state budget being dedicated to the environment. Right now, it's about 0.5%, even though when you think about Massachusetts, you really think about the environment and protecting open space, but DEP and other environmental agencies have really had significant cuts. So those are some of my budget priorities, and then I won't go through the whole list because I'm sure you have questions of the list you sent us. But in addition to the MBTA rail station, we're very pleased about the commitments we got regarding the Route 2A 110 intersection. And the last contact we have heard, and I'm sure Keith already knows this, is that the plan is to have a spring meeting with all of us
And
to get an
the
update
air board
on the
as well,
plan. Yeah, the air
joint
board too.
boards, To do
Yep.
something similar to what we did last year.
With the recommendations for
A
the
permit.
final implementation.
Nice.
And then really congratulate the board and also and Keith, who did some tremendous work on the complete streets, which got you 2 rounds of funding. I understand that you're also looking to put in for the King Street Great Road Complete Streets project. Is that correct, Keith?
We've approached, because they're state-owned roads, that we've been working with the District 3 to figure out a way for them to take them on as
Okay.
their own. And the issue, and actually I asked the Secretary Pollack, how do we get that on your radar screen? And her answer was to input it on the MassDOT's capital investments plan.
Okay.
Public input. So, which we did, but we're also pursuing it. We had a meeting a couple of months ago in Worcester, and I know we're on their radar screen, but the difficulty is they don't have budget funds allocated for making pedestrian improvements on state roads in,
I think a big push too,
Yeah.
if I may, Madam Chair. The big push of the meeting was to get some of the sidewalks downtown. I mean,
Right.
they're really, really in tough shape.
Yeah.
The project was just to do a grind and overlay. So, when we heard that, Chris started, myself, Keith, Jim went down to District 3, very nice people, listened to us, went through the entire wish list of the town. We're not to the point where we're gonna come to you guys and say, hey, here's what it is, can you help us? Once we get to that point, we'll definitely engage you, so we're able to at least get some of the sidewalks. There's no curb cuts for handicap access to, the common area right now. So for Memorial Day, no one in wheelchairs or handicap can get through without going over that big curb. Small projects like that. When they turned Stevens Street into one-way, the MassDOT did that years ago. They kind of took some roadway away, fix it. It's been 50 years or 30 years or whatever it is now, it's a mess. So all we're saying is just, we're not asking to make new, fix what we already have.
Sure.
As Jim Clyde said, they're ankle breakers.
Right.
They
right.
really are.
And to your point, Jim, and I guess sort of a broad point to the board and to Keith, if there are certain things that are sort of out of the scope in terms of what we're looking for in a tip or a transportation improvement, et cetera, that, we would like to know that going into
Sure.
the state budget.
Sure.
And certainly we'd like to have a discussion about the 50,000 we lost for the Littleton Police too, of course, but I just would like to have that broader discussion as we move forward. If there's something, Keith, maybe you think wouldn't be specifically.
Yeah, I mean, one of the issues started where, in our Complete Streets prioritization plan that we got in state funding, we put together our list of improvements that we needed around town, and there were a lot of them that were on King Street and Gray Road, which just happened to be numbered state highways, and therefore not eligible for that grant funding. And and it seemed a shame that if the answer of how do you get money is do you put a request in the tip and you wait 10 years, that's just a bad answer.
Sure.
And we're not the only ones who are asking for, I mean, plenty of communities across the Commonwealth have numbered state highways going through their downtowns.
Yeah, certainly.
So,
Certainly.
But to your point, and it's a great one, I think, Keith, we should absolutely set up something on MassDOT, let's get back to them.
Yeah.
See if we can tie them down to be able to give you guys some information about the project. You know, what they can and can't do based on quote-unquote funding, and their maintenance budget is what they're saying is an issue. So I think we can definitely get something for you within the next couple, 3 weeks, for sure.
Sure.
MassDOT has been fantastic, don't get me wrong, they listen to
Yeah,
us.
they're great. Yeah, they really are.
They're very cooperative with us. The Willow Road, as you said, you
Right.
know, it's fantastic, one of the most dangerous intersections in town. We took it, you know, and that's been tried for a long time, we
Yeah, I
got
mean,
it
I think
done.
we had
We got it done, so.
wonderful synergy at that meeting
Yeah.
with the joint boards and the legislative delegation. And quite frankly, since in my experience, it's probably one of the fastest transportation projects I've seen
doubt.
move.
yes.
No doubt.
And I'm happy for that. And unfortunate for the terrible accidents that have been there, but
Yeah.
it shows a great need to move forward, so.
Right, great.
What else do we have in this list? Keith,
Yeah, I don't
did we
know
get
if you
on a-
went.
Well,
Questions
since you
or-
asked MS4, delegation of MS4 permit, which I already talked to Jamie
Yeah.
earlier today and said, reminded him we were going to be raising, but it is something that the board has talked about here, and, I mean, the broader issue is that the federal government issues the stormwater permits, and in 46 of the states, those permits go to the state. And Massachusetts is only one of 4 that hasn't accepted the permit and then dealt on behalf of its municipalities and counties. It's been the state that's been the permitting agency. And I think a year ago, the dynamic was when EPA was sort of perhaps superior to Mass DEP in some ways, of which I dare say is that from the standpoint of the environmental community, I think that EPA was viewed as, a year ago, was viewed as being a better steward of the environment. I'm not certain that anyone would feel that way now, but but what the cities and towns feel and what the Mass Municipal Association has felt for the last year is that the communities would be better served if Mass DEP rather than EPA were the entity that we had to deal with on the MS4 stormwater permits, and even more so now that
A lot of work, very expensive too. I mean, it can get very expensive, so. You
Yeah, is there a
talk about
sense
those
of
shrinking
what it would cost
budgets.
Littleton to comply? Or?
we are currently we're funding. We've identified about $300,000 worth of implementation costs, which we actually are able to pay for entirely from accumulated cell tower funds that over the last 15 years, we've got $500,000 available. Some of that money is going towards the local match for a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers sponsored work on the restoration of Mill Pond, an Army Corps project. But the $300,000 of the money is to go towards implementation costs for stormwater. So we're lucky. We haven't had to pass it on to our taxpayers or to create ratepayers like many other communities are doing. So at least in the first round, we're a lot better off than many communities are. But in the long term, if there are capital investments that we need to make in order to comply in future years, that's going to be challenging for us.
And we're still in that holding pattern with the feds too, you know, for them to respond to
Yeah, the
The
permit was
actual-
issued jointly by the feds, by EPA and DEP. But the Mass Municipal Association continues to, as you know, advocate for it to be DEP, so
Yep.
just to put in that plug.
Keith, I had a question on infrastructure. Obviously, Littleton's done very well with your help and the board's help of, moving the town forward with infrastructure, with all this sort of robust growth you've had over the last 5 years, and, the improvements in transportation, although we're still looking for spaces. My question is, I've had a few constituents from Littleton ask me about the light on Beaver Brook and 119. And I'm just curious, just to throw it to the board, and I was curious about putting a board, Chuck, actually, putting a light there. There's been discussion about it before. I remember having a discussion, I think, Jim, you and I and the former chief, and this is probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and we were talking about the blinking light on King Street for the high school. And I was curious, has there been any traffic survey on that? Or I was just curious if there's,
Chief, I don't,
I don't know of any.
or
Beaver
Beaver Brook on to 119? A light,
There's been a survey done.
Okay.
It is one that's, when there are accidents there, they tend to be bad. It is not a high-traffic accident road, however. The traffic from Westford is increasing, and trying to get on 119 in the morning, as everyone knows, can be kind of an interesting situation without a set of lights. But
there's certainly a lot more traffic and a lot more reason why there would be traffic on 119, considering the development, the point development that's been there. Got a lot of friends who live in nearby communities who are coming to, you
Right.
bump into Starbucks at 7:30 in the morning.
and the questions have been
So-
recent, and I just kind of throw it out because we're having a sort of loose discussion
Yeah.
after some of the priorities that, for you guys, you talk to constituents every day in Littleton, and Paul, you and I have had this discussion, and I just, I want to make sure we get our arms around it if there's something we need to do, so.
It's funny because talk about traffic lights, the one that people have approached me on, the people who get off of 495 on Route, on exit 30,
Oh, yeah,
and they want to head like toward Air.
sure, oh, yeah.
I had a number of people say, could you have a light there that would, during the peak hours, be red and green, but just blink the rest of the day? I haven't had anyone talk about Beaver Brook.
We've had that issue come up occasionally when we'll have like a business that's looking to, get located on, that end of Air Road, and how awful it is, the thought that they're gonna have all that truck traffic, all those trucks queued up to wait to make a left-hand turn, and they'll wait and wait and wait.
So I don't know if there's any,
Additional?
I got one.
Go for it.
Thank you both for coming, obviously, but Senator Eldridge gave us a cherry sheet, and I look at the veterans' benefits, and I'm seeing about a 17% decrease in the governor's budget proposal.
okay.
I would advocate for our veterans, and hope that you would advocate similarly.
Sure, absolutely. Yep, thank you for pointing it out. Yeah, so legislature's usually quite good on that, so I would hope we do better than that. And hopefully better than last year's too.
That'd be great.
Now, just to say for Chuck, for a member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, and I haven't double-checked that number yet, although there's a process.
Sure.
We are still 3 times more than any state in the country for veterans benefits anywhere in the nation.
That's
We're
awesome.
number 1, 3 times more than any other state. So just to let you know, and we'll double-check those numbers, but we are far and away.
It's awesome. I want to
The
advocate
best.
for Littleton's veterans, and this.
Oh, absolutely. And at the end of this budget process, we will see where we are in this, because that's only his proposal. It's initial.
Yeah.
But I agree with you.
Raise the flag.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Chair, I wanted to touch on 3 things. I think the board and Keith have done a great job of hitting on important issues, and we appreciate your updates as well. But I think we covered too lightly something important at the beginning of the session, is that it's just how much stature these 2 gentlemen have grown to acquire in the State House right now. Senator Eldridge didn't have room on his letterhead to put all the assignments he has in addition to being chairman of Financial Circles Services, which means every banker in the state has to bow down and beg him for mercy. I believe and as you pointed out, you're now on Ways and Means Committee too, drafting budget and tax law. And do you still hold your seat on the Natural Resources Environment Committee
Yeah,
too?
always, yep.
Always terrific. That's
Promise to Bob
it's a
Moran,
legacy of
families
that,
are-
of that position. And Jim, I mean, there's a lot more reps than there are senators, so it's tougher to get leadership positions, but not only are you vice chair of, what are you vice chair of?
Export Development Committee.
Export Development, important for the Commonwealth, but also a member of Ways and Means. And then there was some attention last week when the Speaker appointed 7 legislators out of 160 to head up a small select committee to deal with Trump administration policies in the state. Jim Arcaro was chosen for that. And no secret is that they needed somebody on there who actually knew how the budget works. And that, since Jim was a former staffer at Ways and Means Committee, he knows it in and out. So with all the plaudits, I'd say we probably have the strongest delegation since Senator Duran was Assistant Majority Leader and Jeff Tucker, it's a slip of the tongue, Jeff Hall was Chairman of State Administration. But, we're fortunate.
And both legislators.
He was the rep for, he's
Yeah.
the real rep both times, by the way.
Senators come and go, but Tucker stays.
comes with the office.
He comes with the office, right.
So anyone's thinking of running, Jeff comes with him.
So that just leads me to an obvious conclusion that this wish list is very humble. Your potential for performance would probably far exceed that. But I would highlight 2 public works related projects that are very much on the front burner for us now that they show up in some respect here. One is the sewering project, which is mentioned, which we're coming up on a town meeting where we'll be asking for our second round of funding. Last Thursday, a group of us interviewed 3 excellent engineering firms, and we'll be choosing, hopefully this week, the folks that'll lead us in that project, but we're ultimately going to be needing some help with that. Ironically, our early efforts to date in trying to identify state funding is that because we are so committed to doing a energy efficient and self-sustaining system, because we're willing to be on the cutting edge, we don't neatly qualify for a lot of programs. So we definitely want your help on that. And we're also coming to the end. The next agenda item on this meeting is an update from the Master Plan Committee. Our chairman, Paul Lavelle, is back there, done an excellent job over the past year. We're bringing that in for town meeting. Out of that, probably within the next month or two's time, we'll have a laundry list of items that's going to generate public works affected, redeveloping the common area, other projects around town, sidewalking, as has been mentioned. That stuff is taking form, in a very substantial manner, and we're going to need some help on that.
Implementation. Sure.
And the last point I want to say is all the wonderful work you do in the budget and in the State House matters in a big picture way and does affect everybody's lives on a day-to-day basis. But I think the real measure of a great legislator is whether he or she is able to help citizens on a constituent level. And you folks are terrific with that, and so are your staffs. And the little calls that come in that don't matter at these meetings, but matter a heck of a lot on terms of people's benefits packages or dealing with the state agency or a business trying to get off the ground. Keep up the good work there.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate it.
I'm just gonna jump on, I'm just gonna jump on some of Paul's comments too. To be on the House Ways and Means and Senate Ways and Means is fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that says a lot about who you guys are, so that's a good thing. One other, and I know we're killing you with these Mass DOT projects. Part of the point was a huge benefit when the state stepped up and really helped us with some of the infrastructure.
Right.
Part of it was that bridge, though, and I know there's been discussion of that bridge to expand that bridge another lane, going over 495, that 119 bridge.
Yep.
We haven't really talked about it much, but I just want to make sure it stays on the radar somewhere. I know there was talk of repairing the bridge, because it's just one of those bridges needs help. And that, when they were going to do that, they were going to actually widen it. So, again, if we can just keep that on the agenda also.
Certainly. Sure.
You know.
Have there been discussions on the local level about that formally? Or just
When the point first started, it was,
Okay.
but they've kind of quieted down. You hear from folks, as Joe said, when they get off southbound, you get off that traffic really lines up on that exit ramp. I believe there's a trigger somewhere down on the ramp to change the light when it hits a certain area, so it doesn't back onto 495. And that, right on red doesn't happen because the bridge is too short, too narrow.
No climbing lane.
If there was another lane, then people could safely travel onto the eastbound of 119, so. Recent discussion, not much. But
Okay.
now that we're out there and we're all
Absolutely.
talking
See where we are.
issues, yeah. And we'll bring that up in our meeting in MassDOT too.
Yes, it was definitely something that, while they couldn't do anything about widening the bridge now, but they did recognize, at least in private conversations,
Right.
that there will come a time when they, in their own motion, will be looking at doing improvements to the bridge, at which point they would be widening it, and I thought that was going to be happening in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I
They
can't
didn't tell
remember.
us when.
Was it anything Sam Park had put forward, asked about, or?
I think it was all part of the engineering of that whole that
Well,
Mass Works project.
Yes, it came up certainly during those discussions. Part of it
Traffic
was,
studies.
what, you're right, what's the actual traffic going to be
Right.
based on it being up and operating,
Yep.
which may help build a case for it. I mean, hopefully by later this year, we'll have the cinema as well as other things in operation up there, so a lot of activity.
In full disclosure to all the folks watching at home, I go to the Market Basket in Littleton. So the parking's much better.
Parking is much better, I agree.
I hope nobody watches so much. It is.
There you go.
It is.
All right, I'm good.
Just quickly, Jamie, thanks on this list that you gave, this number 4, where you talk about the foundation budget review.
Yes.
I think that's important, because some of our funding is based on things that happened 50 years, 40 years ago, and it's never changed. And you have certain
Exactly.
towns that are getting more benefits than other towns, and things have changed in that, so I thank you for that.
Yeah, 'cause it's a format for 1993, so, yeah, it needs updating.
And there were specific towns at that time that had a tremendous amount of growth, like, for instance, the town of Franklin. And they're dealing with growth, and they've kind of had a lull, and then you look like a town like Littleton, the growth has been unbelievable. I don't know what the
Yeah.
actual changes have been, but I know that there's been, a robust growth in business, and of course, and residents that want to come here with all the accolades you've had, and that's a testament to you and the school committee of
Well, we're
the
definitely
work you've done
studying
in-
what happens when you get 10,000 people.
It's true. Yeah, you build a,
Crossing
One
the-
last thing.
About to cross that threshold, so.
How's the baby?
she's great, she's 1 next week,
Nice,
so she's starting to walk a little bit, so.
fantastic.
Keep
And
her
then it's
down.
over.
Push her back
And then
down.
it's over when she starts walking.
Put her back on her knees.
Thank you.
Did you have another thing?
I just, Keith, you could probably speak to this a little better than I could, but some of the grants that we put in for, we had a
Yeah.
grant that we applied for the
Sure.
Williams property, and obviously
yeah.
we didn't get it. That was a $300,000 grant, and that's,
Well, we applied for 400 and we didn't get it, but we've
Yeah.
applied again for a different program for 300,000. It's the same
Right.
property.
WWF.
And you wrote a great.
Joyce Williams property.
Yeah, the
Right.
Joyce Williams, you wrote a great letter of support for the first grant,
Yeah.
and we've
for your support there
asked
again.
Absolutely,
for the
sure.
second.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Be happy
round
to.
2.
Yeah.
And we've just submitted our competitive grant for green communities. We were certified a year ago. We got our certification grant of $140,000, but we've submitted, and we appreciate your support of our competitive grant for $250,000. Tonight, we're submitting a community compact information technology grant application for $41,000 for another project, so.
can I just throw one more thing out there? So, we're throwing a bunch of stuff at you guys, and you guys actually sit up there, and you see a lot of stuff that's going on with your colleagues and communities that are similar to ours. If there's anything that comes across your desk, or you see one of your colleagues fighting for, you say, oh, that would fit well in Littleton, please.
Sure.
Know the
No.
lines of communications are open, and please
Yeah,
reach
we
out
like
to us.
that.
Yeah, we love, collaboration, we love copying from others, and
Certainly.
if we can benefit from it,
Best practices.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Best practice adoption.
That'd be great.
And I was just gonna bring up the grant application, so you guys took
Oh, I'm
that.
sorry.
Next. That's perfect.
Just give me a little note, I'll stand
You
down.
didn't know what the blue dots meant versus the
Can't
black
see
dots?
those.
And I noticed lottery aid was on your note. Didn't we have a recent discussion about
We did.
lottery and how that
Harvard.
worked? And, yeah, Harvard, and how we want more of that share of revenue if possible.
Communities like
That's
Harvard
neat.
that don't offer lottery within their communities still benefit from lottery. Although it was kind of what Jim just
They
said.
don't play, they don't play with
Yes, that's right. Both great towns, yep.
Fair enough.
Gentlemen, thank you very
Circuit
much for
breaker.
coming.
Well, before we leave, we would like to honor our chairwoman. Before, I know that, I've heard through channels that this quite possibly is the last meeting that we're gonna be having with
It
you.
very well could
And
be.
it's coming up, so Melissa, on behalf of the senator and I, we just want to
You
say
getting misty over
that
there?
you have been a wonderful chair, a wonderful select woman. You have been professional, you have personified community with your work, not only, with the town of Littleton, but, leading up to the town of Littleton. And you've inspired a whole new generation of young people to get involved, not only in politics, but with their towns. So we just wanted to honor you with a citation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Be it known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives, our sincerest congratulations to Melissa Hebert, and recognition of your dedication and service to the citizens and town of Littleton during your tenure as a member of the Littleton Board of Selectmen. The entire membership extends its very best wishes, don't cry, and continue hope for future good fortune, given this 27th of March, signed by Senator Eldridge and Representative Arcero. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You've made it easier for us, so we're gonna miss you.
Oh, this is amazing.
Okay, so let's get the three of us.
Okay, yes.
Are we allowed to postpone
What are
and
you,
do a
deleting
picture?
her number,
Yes,
Jim?
I can do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Jamie, what did you get on that side? She moved.
Sorry.
I had to be in the
Just
lap.
keep rotating. Jeff's,
We'll have Jeff Hall take the photo.
I thought that was Jeff Deal.
Told you, it's on you.
Very good.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you guys so
Congrats.
much.
Very thoughtful, thank you.
Good luck.
I'm not sure.
So his phone's talking back to him. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
It's
you.
always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'm not used to that.
you want a minute?
Something to treasure for life.
Text, I'm gonna have to leave over my thoughts. I'll probably have to leave at 8:30.
Okay. Let's keep it together here to move on to the next thing.
Tito, give me a tissue.
Here, really. All right, that brings us to public input. Any public input? Yes.
Hi, Cindy Napoli, Springfield Drive. I just wanted to let people know that the Director of the Council on Aging will be presenting her multi-age group center concept at the FinCom meeting tomorrow night. It's my understanding it's the first thing on their agenda, and I know a lot of people were interested in that concept, and I hope they are able to go to the meeting tomorrow night and check it out.
Thank you. Any other, yes, Mr. Sanders?
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I had spoke to the Massachusetts Board of Library Commission. The lady name is Rosemary Walto. And I sort of kind of wanted to get a little feel for what the situation with this upcoming voting that we're supposed to do in May town meeting. And she sort of kind of gave me a little bit of a breakout as to what is going to take place there. July 2017, they're going to approve a list of library projects. They have approximately about $110 million, which is to be used to fund projects that's already on the list and to whatever's added to the list. It is likely for 2018 they're going to fund 6 to 8 projects. And the next step will be to establish an approved weighting and ranking list of libraries. And the last step will be to list libraries that did not get approval. However, the libraries will have an opportunity to resubmit in 6 months. She said that when the town is notified from the waiting list and ranking, that the town must be ready to fund their share of the money. In this particular case, the town of Littleton standing cannot be moved to a later time on the waiting and ranking list. She mentioned that some projects that was approved in FY 2011 just got funded in FY 2015. So I sort of kind of asked her, is 4 years a good number to consider for being funded? And she replied, yes. She said that Littleton will be considered as a new project. From assuming the conversation that we had, there are already projects that are waiting to be funded from the fund for 2018 fiscal year, and that I hope that this will sort of kind of give us some insight as to time that we have available here when we come up for this meeting, so when the town comes up and have this hearing on where the town stands as for its ability to fund the library project, then that information should be a little helpful to us as to what is what.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
Thank you.
And scheduling that public information hearing is something I do want to talk about tonight, maybe when we get into articles. Okay. So Keith, I'm headed your way on that one. Okay, very good, thank you. Any other, yes?
Yolanda, the administrator. So I don't know if it's a question for the town administrator or for you guys. A little bit related to the MAPC and the Crosstown Connect. One of the slides talks about how best to link commuter rail to employment centers. Where else would the shuttle go? And also a suggestion, because I wrote to Doug Halley, I guess, who I'm not sure exactly what his role in Crosstown Connect is, but he said that Crosstown Connect is in the process of developing a Westford Littleton commuter run back into the Littleton train station. And he asked me for information of when I take the train, where do I come from, and so on. So I take the train every single day. I had never seen any information at the Littleton train station about Crosstown Connect. So I guess my request to you is, if there is any talk about it, could you please post some information at the station so that people who are the most interested in it actually have a way to relate to you what they'd like, where they live, and if there is a shuttle, where it should go.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great suggestion. Any other public input? All right, that's member updates and selectmen goal updates. All right.
No, that's
actually,
fine. No,
is it-
that's good. I just want to give an update on the Alumni Field project. The sub-bids were opened last week. Everything came in kind of within what we expected, and the larger bids are being opened this Thursday. So it's still anticipated that shovels be in the ground May 1st, with an expected completion date of September 1st.
Nice.
Awesome. Very good.
That's all I have.
All for you?
Just to expand on something I mentioned a moment ago when the legislators were here, we, as the board members know, we did have our meetings last week with the, first to consider who to invite for an invitation to an interview for the sewer engineering, the smart sewer proposal, and then ultimately on last Thursday, three great presentations made. Melissa was there, Chuck, myself, Keith, Chris started running the process as the town engineer, DPW director, and Bob Zimmerman, citizen CWRA executive director. We actually had some people in the audience, believe it or not, but excited about that, and our intention is to meet again this Thursday at an open meeting right here and select someone that select a firm that'll be on board hopefully, to follow up on our discussed plans to have a public information session. I'd like to get, obviously, a date that works for the members involved, but also to introduce the engineers to the town, and so that they can get a flavor for the concerns in the community, and vice versa, the community can get some questions in on those folks.
Perfect. Mr. Carr?
So, the chair and I met with the fire chief, police chief, and to do a PSA on the opioid crisis. We're meeting again Wednesday, kind of finalize, put something out on LCTV that's one of our goals. We had a young woman pass away recently, so kind of motivated us to really kick it in high gear. We're hopefully to get it done within the next couple of weeks. Get as much information out there as to help folks as we can. That's our objective. So,
Very good, Mr. Knox?
I just want to mention, I had the pleasure of playing a victim with the Littleton Volunteer Corps, which is a combination of a couple organizations that are in place, 100% volunteer people who would assist the fire department, police department if we had a major emergency, and staffs might be a little bit short. It was done at Patriot Beverage, or the old Very Fine. I get inside Very Fine, the place is enormous. But it was nice to see. I had to play a victim in a certain circumstance, and they had to come in and use their training to try to take control of the situation. It was extremely interesting for me to see how it was handled. And my hats go off to the volunteer corps, because it's people who are doing it 100% volunteering their time. And what they did, they had an emergency call. They were eating supper or something else. The emergency call came, and they had to leave what they were doing and come down. So I give them a lot of credit for doing what they're doing.
Mike, you won't cover mine, so if you want to go ahead.
I just wanted to welcome our new Assistant Town Administrator, Anthony Ansaldi. Here he is, everybody. Live on the
Welcome,
flesh.
Anthony.
He's our newest employee. Anthony Ansaldi, Assistant Town Administrator, welcome.
Thank you.
Look forward to working together.
Okay, just one quick one from my side along the same lines as Selectman Knox. I think we've had a meeting since this happened, but on St. Patrick's Day, actually, I was lucky enough to volunteer for the first half of the day to help the COA with Meals on Wheels, and so got to see them pack up the meals down at the new kitchen and the cool packages that they make, and then ride with the driver to go deliver the meals. And I really got to see how different parts of our community really rely on that service. There's no, I think, part that's an exception thing. It's a need and it's a need not only for food, but as we witnessed actually when we went to deliver the meal, someone actually needed medical help, and we had to call 911, had the deputy come down. So it's good for physical contact. It's good for checking in. It's good for meals. Our community does a fantastic job with it. We've got a great set of volunteers that also take advantage of our senior tax write-off program. So my driver was doing that with her hours, who happened to be the mother of someone I graduated high school with, which was also funny. But just a fantastic service, and I know that that's something that's kind of on the radar for something that might be cut in the future. And I got to see firsthand how really important it is. So thank you to everyone for all their work on that. Okay, that brings us to one of my favorite topics, a master plan update. So I see Chairman Pichiavello back there, if you want to come join us. And I see several members of the master plan update steering committee here as well. So thank you for joining us also. All right.
Chair, members,
Good evening.
planning board, and other members from the Master Plan Steering Committee here with me this evening. Just a short status update, tell you where we are. We're on the home stretch now of a 2+ year effort. Think about it, the very first meeting we had as a Master Plan Steering Committee was in April of 2015. So just coming up on 2 years now, the first meeting we had. By the time we get it to a town meeting for acceptance of the plan, it'll have been just over 2 years. So it's been a process well enjoyed by many of us, and certainly going to be well enjoyed once we get it approved. And that's what brings me to this. Where are we going to be going with the master plan now? is, to say, really within the last 6 weeks or so of it, if you really think about the process that we've gone through at this point. And that is, tomorrow we'll meet again, because we've had the draft of the master plan with RKG Associates, our consultant that's been working with us on this. We've had the opportunity to review it with them. We're pleased with the document in essence, but certainly we had many recommendations and suggestions, and some deletions too. We wanted them to go back and rework it. They will be providing us that final draft on the 3rd of April. So just a week from this evening, we'll be receiving that. Now what's going to happen on the following Thursday, the 6th of April, is we'll be going to the planning board with the document and beginning the public hearing process with the planning board. And that'll open up an opportunity for a 2-week comment period by the folks. And then on the 20th of April is when we'll be bringing it to the planning board for a final approval on their part. And then on the 1 May, take it to a town meeting. It'll be part of Article 2, as Keith has suggested, put in their special town meeting as one of the reports provided to the town. Now, what we have done with this is there are going to be 63 recommendations that are in the plan at this point. We anticipate it'll be that way when it comes to the final draft also. The steering committee has looked at that very closely and is going to offer, amongst those recommendations, a consensus view of the top priorities that we feel we've gleaned from the sense of the community through this process. Because if you think about it, we've had many, many meetings with folks, both small groups and large groups. We've had the 3 public forums that we met with folks. We had the 2 charrettes. We had various one-on-one meetings with people in different localities. Keith, with the rest of the staff and other employees of the town, have met with the consultants to go through this. We've had 50 plus, and maybe one of these days I'll actually sit down and count all the meetings, but I can say quite clearly we've had 50 plus meetings, many of them here in this room and some other locations on town as the full-up committee. So the committee feels, as representatives of the town for sure on this particular process, is that we've been able to, as I say, glean a little bit of the sense of the town, and we're going to offer that as 2 priorities that we feel that the town really should concentrate on when we look at all these recommendations. So it's not going to necessarily be any one of those recommendations culled out, and that becomes the priority. It's going to be how do we see them coming together, the synergistic effects of the various recommendations, because each one of them does not stand on its own. All of them, in some way, shape, or form, are related. So it's not a silo approach that we've taken to this. It's very much a systems approach that we've taken as we look through this. So that way we feel somewhat confident in that these priorities that we'll offer to the town will indeed be representative of the broad spectrum of the entire plan. So with that, that's where we're at. So tomorrow night, we meet again with RKG Associates to look at some more details, make sure the recommendations are where we want them to be. And then a week from Thursday, that is, on April 6th, with the planning board, we'll be offering the briefing to them and encapsulating everything, detailing the entire process again, as I did with you all back in January, and had most recently done with the planning board back in February. We'll be reiterating that, but then also introducing the new items that are coming out of there. We've come up with 8 strategy areas that we discussed also that evening, and then how we look forward to, again, those strategy areas being the over-encompassing, overarching 10, if you will, of those recommendations that are coming out of this. So with that, open up to questions, you all.
Excellent update, thank you. Thank you for all your work driving us here for the full 2 years. Thank you, Chairman, you've done an excellent job. Board members, questions? Any questions?
Yeah, I just have, I know we've spoke about some type of implementation committee moving forward once it passes in the town meeting. Has your committee given any thought to that, or any type of charge? Or have you got have you got any input from the planning?
Indeed, we will. There's going to be extensive input on implementation. We feel that without it, why do we take these last 2 years to do what we have done? Why do we waste the people's time here in the town of Littleton? Why do we spend the people's money if there's not to have that implementation committee, as I've recommended to you and to the planning board previously? The Master Plan Update Steering Committee very strongly believes that. And you've heard me say this before, but certainly our expectations, and we're laying it out in a cover letter to the actual plan from the committee, is that we do have that expectation, is that you as a board will certainly form one, working with the planning board also, and taking it forward so that this plan, as we call it, a living plan. So the day we take it to town meeting, we expect on the 2nd of May, on the 1st of May's town meeting, and on the 2nd of May, someone's going to have an idea that we didn't include in there. And we'll have that opportunity in the implementation committee, those folks that will be able to be the ones that take it around, socialize it, so to speak, with the rest of the town and the various boards, and then that way it doesn't get included in the plan. And then obviously working with the various boards and committees here in town, other commissioners and the like, and the people, for that matter, that we'll be able to say, these are the priorities we've established, these are the recommendations that have come out of this. Again, town-wide consensus of sorts, and this is where we should be putting our priorities towards here in the town of Littleton, and how we go about racking and stacking the various things we want to do and accomplish in town.
Has even been thought in the plan for costs related to the implementation as well, budget, so the plan to cover that and.
It's huge.
Yep.
You'll see those recommendations are laid out by a high, low, medium priority. So we're looking at that. We didn't want to number them because it'd be not quite right to number them 1 through N. We didn't feel that was the right way. And they're also laid out in bands of years, because we're calling this the Master Plan 2030, so certainly that's 13 years or so from now, public math serving well. But we're looking at 1 to 3, 4 to 5, 4 to 7, and then, 4 to 6, and then 7 to 10 years. Because even if the plan were to go out 13 years, excuse me, those things would have to be initiated when we're looking at long-term things, certainly before the end of the plan.
And just to round off the implementation committee, I'd say, just to PJ's point about it not sitting on the shelf, my 2 cents would be to form that implementation committee as soon as possible after, the plan is approved. That way we can hit the ground running and just don't let it get stale at all. Exactly.
I'd assume.
To my untrained ear, that sounded like you were volunteering.
Oh, you're so untrained. Joe?
Just something very general, I want to thank you and your committee what you did. I know going back to the Town Government Study Committee, after 2 years, all the work that I put in and that committee put in, I know what you went through and all the hard work that gets done. And the best part was seeing it being implemented. That's why that's so important, because I know my fear back then was all that work that we did would be put on the shelf, so this is probably the most important part. You did all the work, now we want to make sure it gets used.
Executed.
I want to earn my salary from the last 2 years.
It'd be a raise. Again, thank you very much to you and the entire committee, and to all the people in town that stepped up and came to charrettes and meetings and gave their 2 cents to help you to sculpt this plan for us. Appreciate it.
And having been around for, although not as much of an active participant in the first go-around, I know that these things can come to entirely different ends, and something as simple as staying on schedule while being substantive should not be taken for granted, and is probably not the norm on a project like this. And I'd say the process and the input for the members has been fruitful, and I don't ever remember a hot argument or anything like that. It's been well handled, and kudos to our chair. So hopefully we can bring her home in the next month or two, and then move on to the spending part.
And if I may offer it to some of the other committee members if they have anything to add.
Master plan. And I'd ask to the planning board, so if you guys have any questions or comments or.
Look forward to seeing you on the sites.
Very good.
All right. Thanks, folks.
Great.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
PJ.
PJ. Thanks all.
Always good to see you. All right, master plan. Hey, we're rocking and rolling here. Treasurer, insurance. Hello, Steve. Hello, Ann. Insurance Advisory Committee recommendations on group health insurance plan design changes.
We have Treasurer Steve Venuti and Assistant Treasurer Ann Essman, and we have several members of the Insurance Advisory Committee representing the various unions that are here tonight as well, all to answer any questions.
Fantastic.
And I'll start off by expressing my thanks to the IAC members, to the finance team. I think they've done a great job. Finance has done a great job briefing the IAC members, briefing the management staff on what the options are open to try to control our group health costs and make sure that we're preserving the best benefits at the lowest price. It was a very challenging year. This year, we hadn't gone through group health changes in a significant way for, was it 5 years ago? 6? But that, just to set the tone, we got a a renewal rate of 9%, which was too much, was a budget buster, and so the team got hard at work looking at what some of the alternatives were that could be done, and they've come back with a 3%, with a plan that involves a 3% increase in the premiums, but preserves the basic benefit package that folks are getting now. It was a huge undertaking to identify what the additional, what the range of changes were. We can hear some of the specifics about that, but I want to applaud that when push came to shove and we needed to make a decision that preserved benefits and did so at an affordable price, everyone came together. The IAC members and all the unions that they represented in a at the end, it was at lightning pace, because it was just last Wednesday morning that the Insurance Advisory Committee voted to adopt the recommendation that's in front of you. Because of some changes that we can talk about, it was not a change that the town could unilaterally implement under the group health plan design. It in fact required every union, all of them, to agree to the changes. And by noon on Friday, they took the vote on Wednesday, by noon on Friday, we had all the signed agreements in place for the Board of Selectmen to approve tonight. But it was because I think there was a universal recognition that we wanted to maintain the group health benefit package, and to do so at the lowest price. And I think all are to be commended for pulling that all together in record time. But while it was at lightning speed at the end, it was only because methodically and thoroughly over the course of months that the IAC meets regularly to talk about group health options, that the finance team provides information to the union members and briefs the management staff as well. So this has been, we could only get quickly across the finish line at the end because so much work had been done leading up to it. And just a great job that the IAC and the finance team has done in bringing this forward.
Thank you
So
very
thank
much.
you.
Thanks for that intro, Keith. All right, how should we get started here? You want to give us an overview?
Yeah, I'll start off here. I think you have a lot of information in the
So
packet.
much
Keith
information.
handed out. So let's just start with a memo that came from Ian and I guess, to begin with.
Got it.
Okay. So the IAC, as Keith mentioned, it has met, basically, because we needed to produce some savings this year, and the pressures that were put on the budget. And we've actually used some of those funds before we actually realized what we can get. Bonnie used, I think, $210,000 in health insurance savings into the budget to balance it so far. So we need to produce at least $210,000 worth of savings here. You have a memo that outlines 3 options that are available to the board tonight. First option is to keep the current plan at a 9.18% increase. That would produce budget savings. If you remember, Bonnie's original budget had a 12.5% premium increase in it, so we would see a 3% decrease in the expenses for FY18. It's not enough to cover what she's used to balance the budget. Second option would be to adopt a benchmark 3 plan. A benchmark plan is a GIC benchmark plan. And if you do that option, you do that under Chapter 32B, Sections 21, 22, which the board adopted, I think, 6 years ago. This gives you control to set that benchmark 3 as the plan, and we would go through a PEC process where 25% of the total savings has to be given back to the employees.
PEC is Public Employee Committee, which would be essentially the IAC.
IAC, just a different name for
We
it.
go back to them.
That was a 0.61% premium increase, but that plan introduced larger deductibles to the town employees, and to do that change that quickly without a lot of education and preparedness for the employees is a little bit of a stretch. That's why Ian and I and the IAC are recommending option number 3, which is the HMO and PPO options deductible version 5. We'll just call it the version 5 plan for short. That came through at a 3.18% increase. However, because it's not a GIC benchmark plan, the board doesn't have the powers under 21 and 22 as they had under the benchmark plan. So because it's not a GIC plan, it requires direct negotiations with each individual union. And what you also have in your packets tonight are signed documents from each of the unions and the two school associations, which does 3 things. Read this so I can get it right here. It asks that we move to the options V5 plan. It asks that in keeping with Mass Health reform and the spirit of sections 21 and 22, that we return 25% of the total savings to the elected employees, as a premium holiday. And in return, that the unions agree that those agreements will satisfy the bargaining requirements under the law. So they won't come back and try to bargain again for those health benefits that we're giving them in this plan. And those agreements would stay in force until the town changes the health insurance plans next year, the year after that, or 6 years down the road, as we did in the last one. Okay? That V5 plan produces the savings that we need to balance the FY18 budget. As I said, it's a 3.18% increase, and even with the 25% give back, it still produces the savings that Bonnie needs to keep the budget in balance. Ian can walk us through what the IAC looked at and maybe some details of the plan itself.
Okay, so the IAC, we did start 4 months ago, and this was a year that we went out for a total bid. So as you know, we usually deal with Maya, our consortium, but every 3 years at least, and sometimes sooner if market dictates it, we go out for a bid for all providers, or as many as will bid. This year, so we engage a broker to do that. This year we went out to, there were 7 total. So we did ask Cigna, United Health, Tufts, Harvard, Minuteman Health, Minuteman, Neshoba, and Maya. Those were the ones that we went out to. Because we're not necessarily stuck on Blue Cross, if there's a better plan out there. Many of those declined to bid and basically said they wouldn't be competitive against Maya, which is good news in a way. It means we're getting a good price from Maya currently. Tufts and Harvard did bid, but Tufts was about where we are, and Harvard came in at 13% as opposed to our 9%, which is kind of where we thought we would be. The reason that is because when we're in consortium, we're in a pool, and our claims are rated at 60% of our claims and 40% of the pool, so our increase is somewhat blended with the pool claims, and that helps us. Whereas if we go to something like a Harvard, we stand on our own, and we probably would have seen a 13% increase. So that pretty much told us we were staying with Maya at that point. They've been good to us, they've been good to us, and we started really drilling down with Maya into the plan designs. We looked at everything from really high deductibles, what they call high deductible plans, which go from $2,000 to $4,000 deductibles, but you can package a health savings account with them, to our current one, to ones with blended different copay rates. The IAC did a great job in just trying to, you're trying to get the best plan for the least amount of premium, is what we're trying to, do. So how to really get a good plan without too high out-of-pocket expenses for the employee is what our goal was. So it was about 12 or 13 plans we looked at, and we boiled down to the V5 that we gave you there. It is very much like our current plan in form, which we wanted to keep because it's a tiered plan, and it has an enhanced tier that allows the employees, should they choose that tier, to really minimize their out-of-pocket expenses and control them. There's no deductible in that tier, and the co-pays are significantly reduced. And our local providers are enhanced tiers. Emerson is, Neshoba is, Lowell General is, and Leahy is an enhanced tier. So most of our employees use that enhanced tier. So that's the reason IAC really started focusing in on that plan, because we could allow them to choose a plan that did not have a deductible, whereas, like the benchmark, you're immediately faced with a $500 or $1,000 deductible as a member. So we started on that one and then started comparing co-pays. And it's a trade-off. Some are a little bit more, some are a little bit less, but overall, the co-pays are less in that plan than a benchmark. So that's really how we got to the V5. And the one thing I will say about the V5 is that it does impose a high deductible on the high tier end. They call it the basic tier, but it's the furthest one to the right. It's the most expensive tier, which they call basic. And it does have a high deductible there. We do have, people that go to Mass General. They're the very high-cost hospitals that you will get higher co-pays and higher deductibles. But that is a choice. You don't have to go there. And in general, the IAC felt that this plan was better for the majority of the employees. So that's how we ended up with the recommendation. It was a unanimous recommendation. And some of the members here, we have highway, we have school, we have police here, to answer any questions that you'd like to ask of them as well.
Would anyone like to add anything or make any comments before the board asks questions? All right, board members, questions. Thank you very much for your work. Sounds like a thoughtful process, a lot of research, and glad to see there's such strong alignment on the recommendation as well. Questions?
Just a quick comment, the Light and Water Commission has voted last week to approve this also.
So, just having involvement in this at my part-time job, the other job, this is not easy work, and I appreciate all the effort that you all put into it, and appreciate that you presented it, multiple options to all the employees, where they were able to look at, this is what the impact is going to be to me personally, and I appreciate you guys putting that together, because it certainly makes it easier for anyone who's trying to choose a healthcare plan. So it's one of those fringes that we all want, but it's at a cost, to your point, Ann. It's trying to get the most for the least, right? So appreciate the effort and the fact that it is tiered and people can kind of choose a la carte which one they want. If they want to go with the high deductible because they like to go to the Boston hospitals, that's available to them. So yeah, I definitely appreciate all the effort that all the parties put into it in the IAC. Thank you.
Yeah, not so much any questions as just observations. It's great that all the union's employees, are on board. It's great that everybody, even in a unit our size, has so many options. And I still think it's remarkable that, what was projected at over 9% increase is down under 4%. In this day and age, don't know how you did it, but good work. Thank you.
Can we get it? Special municipal correspondent?
No, I just want to thank you for the work that you have done. It benefits the town, it benefits the employees. I want to thank the unions for signing on so quickly, because that was a major factor in this. Thank you all. Great work.
We're in open enrollment. Can I have some consulting fees out there at all? Anybody? Bueller?
All right.
Good job.
Yeah, great job, guys. Thank you all very much. With that, look for a motion.
Ready?
You got a nice long one to read there, Mr.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, you got it? Go ahead.
No, that's,
All right.
claim that ground.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to adopt the recommendation of the Insurance Advisory Committee unanimously adopted on March 22nd, 2017 as follows. Effective July 1, 2017, that the town adopt the HMO Blue New England Options Deductible V.5 and the Preferred Blue PPO Options Deductible 2 V.5 plans from MIIA. Said change is projected to result in a total annual savings of $334,375 in FY 2018. Further, in keeping with the spirit of healthcare reform, section 21 and 22, that 25% of the actual first-year savings be returned to current subscribers in a healthcare plan in a way of premium holiday to help offset increased out-of-pocket expenses, and that a memorandum of agreement with several unions be executed in accordance therewith.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Awesome
Thank all the
work.
unions, too.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
guys. Thank
Great job.
you.
Great
Thank you
job.
very much.
And we have the MOUs to sign at your leisure tonight. So
Excellent.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so we have an 8 o'clock public hearing we are early for. So why don't we do... We still have our planning board meeting?
You do 7D and...
Yeah, you could do.
All the 8 items. get
all
around.
the
All the
8
8
items.
items. All right, let's do 8A. 8A. 8A is Town Clerk Dedication of 2016 Annual Town Report. 8A, we have a supplemental handout for that.
So there are 4 names that the town clerk is recommending. I've added those names in the motion that's on the big screen. So I had, we received the list after we sent the packet out on Friday, but the practice has been to identify in the dedication those who passed, who had significant service to the town. You've also had the practice, if someone has died recently, prior to the publication, rather than wait a year, that you've chosen to recognize them in the book that we're putting out to publication. We did that with Pete Tierney in the past. We've done that with others. I think we did it with Mary Kay once. So where Peter Castanari recently passed and had have 45 years of service to the town, we thought it was appropriate to include him this year.
And the number of names is up to us, really, at the end of the day. Like 4, we don't have to cut this down, i.e., there's no, yeah.
All good folks, very deserving.
Yep, agree. So Peter, Booth, Jackson, Frank, Matheson.
We sure on the
Isabel.
spelling on Isabel? Has that been checked? Is that what that is?
I think that's, unless I transposed
I
something.
thought she was an ISOBEL, but,
It's, the clerk has provided ISA.
no, just, I think it's worth checking.
We will make sure that the report reads is.
If I'm correct, please let us know. If not, just let it pass.
Have Clancy so noted in the minutes that Mr. Glavy inquired.
Ready?
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to dedicate the 2016 annual town report to the ongoing service of volunteer citizens who contribute to all aspects of maintaining the community of Littleton, whose service has been critical in retaining our small-town character and spirit. To include the list of whom we lost since the last report who served the town in some official capacity, including Peter Castanari, Board of Health, 48 years service to the town. Booth Jackson, Electrical Inspector, 1988 to 2012, for 24 years. Frank Matheson, Conservation Commission, 1992 to 2013. Dog Officer, 1977 to 1989. Animal Inspector, 1977 to 1991. Pound Keeper, 1977 to 1990. Isabel Ursh worked for the town of Littleton as a public health nurse, and was the last public health nurse for the town of Littleton and the Neshoba Board of Health, 1976.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My mother still remembers the town nurse. She's 91 years old.
Really?
She still brings it up in conversation.
It's cool.
I gotta go see the town nurse.
The town nursing.
You could do 8B.
8B, let's do
I
it.
think this is another grant opportunity, the Community Compact Cabinet. The Commonwealth is inviting applications by April 1st for their information technology IT grant program. Nancy Glencross has prepared a grant application for $41,000 and change for what she views as a high-priority item, which is to go after firewalls and other security upgrades for the police station IT system. So I want to thank Nancy for putting together this application and ask that the board vote to authorize us to submit it.
It's a good looking slide too, by the way. I like that. Well done.
You know what I like about the slide? If you notice, I did a screen capture because if you see, this is some familiar people right about here.
Oh, yeah.
There's,
There we are.
there's the chair.
The other day I got to hold a
Yeah,
big board like
yeah.
that.
So we made the,
Yeah, that's very
we
good.
made the PSA,
I
so.
like it with the little, the stats on it and everything. It's a
Yeah,
good slide.
yeah.
Okay,
Spoken like a true
PowerPoint
IT
princess,
person.
yeah. Totally.
Really doesn't excite me much, but,
I
yeah,
know.
I'm sorry to say.
Boring.
I think this
Really?
is to keep
Ready.
the Russians out. so.
Yeah, whatever. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to authorize submission of an application to the Massachusetts Community Compact Cabinet under its Information Technology Grant Program for $41,465 to upgrade network security and switching infrastructure for the Littleton Police Department headquarters.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Positive thoughts on the grant. All right, one more? Take
You
care
could
of all
do
the
eight- You could do
eights.
8C, yeah.
Virginia Sprung Trust donations to town department.
Yeah, you know, over the years, during her lifetime, that there were an awful lot of, well, I guess cats out of the bag. We got an awful lot of grants, anonymous or otherwise.
Not all that anonymous.
From Mrs. Sprong, and
She
when she
continues.
passed, she just, her generosity continued, and it's really an amazing donation that is being made from her estate to the town departments totaling $120,000.
And so you guys helped to put a thank you letter to the trust or whoever should get it, please. So.
Certainly.
That's very generous, extremely generous.
And the dollar amounts in the motion reflect what the conditions of her trust were, so.
You know, it just goes to show how, you know, people in this town just volunteering, stepping up. I mean, Mrs. Sprong has been doing this for years, and it's just amazing.
And as Keith pointed out, a lot of that was anonymous.
It really was.
Jenny and Harry were both classic old Yankees. They wouldn't want all the attention that came with their donations. Probably wouldn't want their neighbors to know how much they had either, but in any event, she was, as a neighbor, she was a great neighbor and a great lady, and I'm glad her beneficence lives on.
Ready for a motion?
Indeed.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to accept donations totaling $120,000 from the Virginia F. Sprong Trust, 1981. The following town agencies: $50,000 for the Police Department, $50,000 for the Fire Department, $10,000 for the Council on Aging, $5,000 for the Highway Department, and $5,000 for the Department of Water and Light. And further vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, subsection 53A, to deposit said sums in a special gift funds, the proceeds of which shall be used without further appropriation by respective agencies, subject to approval of the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Thank you
Minutes,
again.
too.
Hey, you could do the
What's
minutes
that?
too.
Oh, I've
Yep.
given them my screen eye shade inspection, and I think Clancy has moved up to A- category.
Wow, this is,
accurate.
Tony, see, yeah, I mean, this is
Not
big
yet,
here.
you know, it's
You're
accurate, but not yet
witnessing something
inspiring,
here.
so
Wow.
we have something to
Big
move.
day.
We're getting closer.
No corrections to
We
make.
try not to inspire in the minutes, though. The meetings usually speak for themselves.
That's true.
All right, move that the board.
Hold on. I just said, I got
I'm losing my mantle here to the.
Another county heard from.
it. Well, yeah. Under the PMBC,
Yeah.
you put in that the bids would be open toward the end of the month, and they're actually open on the 30th. So the date was put out there, so if you could just jot in that the bids will be open for construction on the 30th.
Certainly.
B plus, A minus, you thinking?
I didn't use red.
Any other changes, members? Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the meeting minutes from March 13, 2017.
Second.
So moved and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Clancy. Okay, how many minutes exactly do, oh, my thing says 8 o'clock.
I say 8 o'clock, too.
Let's do it.
All right, here you go. The Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on Monday, March 27, 2017, at 8 PM in Room 103 of the Town Offices Building, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass., to consider the application of common particular license, Mass General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 2, as requested by Ronabir Malik, manager of Bay State Yogurt Company, doing business as Minchie's Frozen Yogurt, at the property located in 504 Constitution Ave, Littleton, Mass. 01460, and which application is available for review at the Littleton Town Offices in room 306. The hours of operation will be Sunday through Thursday, 12 p.m. to 9 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Excuse me. Comments thereon may be submitted in writing to the Selectmen Town Administrator's Office, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. 01460, by no later than noon, Friday, March 24, 2017, or in person at the hearing. All interested parties are invited to attend. Melissa Hebert, Chairman, Board of Selectmen.
Thank you. Okay, we did get approached by the new owner, thank you, Mr. Malik, last selectman. He to let us know he couldn't be here tonight, so he did come and approach us. Very nice gentleman. I understand that this is a change of ownership, and he's applying for the CV license, so, and Chief, any comments from your side? Looks like.
There were no issues at all found during the background investigation.
Great. Any comments, questions?
Anything in the Board of Selectmen's office?
No.
Comments?
No comments. I will say, we use it as a teaching moment with the Board of Health sometimes, that we, that for an establishment that gets a food service permit from the Board of Health, that the applicant may not find their way to the Selectmen for our common vic license. And so the Board of Health is amending its procedures so that a completed food service application for the Board of Health will require evidence of a completed common vic license with the Selectmen, and we appreciate that level of cooperation, which Clancy brokered with Shelley.
They'll be making that motion at tomorrow night's meeting.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's excellent. Clancy, I was just headed your way with this little note to say, uh-oh, how did things fall through the cracks, and how do we make sure that doesn't happen again? And so I've psychically delivered that, and you've answered it. Excellent. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 6.
No samples?
They had one last summer.
Oh, close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any discussion?
Discussion, board members, public?
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 6, to approve the application of the Bay State Yogurt Company, DBA Menchie's Food Yogurt, Robinir Malik, manager, for a common victular license for premises at 504 Constitution Ave, The Point, Littleton, Mass.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We wish you luck, Mr.
Malik.
Malik. All right, so that leaves 4 items under number 7 for May 1st, 2017 annual and special town meeting. First up, determine order in which articles appear on the warrants.
There were a total of 36 articles that were inserted. We had 6 in the special town meeting, 30 in the annual, including 2 voter petitioned articles that came in from Mr. McIver and others last week. So our desire is to finalize the order in which those articles appear in the warrant as posted. and then to post the warrant promptly. Typically, we do it on the Tuesday after the Monday night meeting where you determine the order. This year, we had talked about placement of articles in order to be able to get through the topics that people felt were important. Previously, you had decided to put the library building project into the special town meeting warrant, so that important matter would come up during the 7:30 hour. It would come out, since the special town meeting starts at 7:30, that, say, somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, the library would come up, and also the supplemental funding for the sewer project, that's also in the special town meeting, so those two significant items would come up in that 7:30 to 8 o'clock hour. There had been the discussion, as we heard from the master plan committee, that they desire to make a presentation about the master plan update under our usual article about hearing town reports. But they would not be asking for the town to vote to approve the document, but rather to receive the document. So since that's Article 2 in the annual, and would be something that we could do in the first half hour of town meeting between 7 and 7:30, there'll be some time allotted for that in that first half hour. What this proposed numbering shows is that I was also getting comments and requests from Planning Board and the Council on Aging to have the particular zoning article that deals with senior residential development, to have that come up at an early hour. And so one opportunity to do that would be if you put it in right after the reports article. That is, I should say, Article 4 is always the budget. So, and we don't change the number. We've stuck, no matter what happens, Article 4 has been the operating budget. And once you start that budget, you're on that budget discussion till it finishes. So if you wanted to at least have the opportunity to discuss the senior zoning, the senior residential zoning article, one way to do it would be to put it as Article 3, right after the reports article that we'll hear about the master plan, so that you at least have a shot at having it raised. If you start that discussion before 7:30, when we go to special town meeting, you could start and then complete the debate on that article. And then upon its completion, move to the special town meeting. That might take an hour. It'd be nice if we could get done in an hour, the special town meeting. But when you emerge from there, it will either be 8:30 or later, which would sort of defeat the purpose of trying to take that one up earlier. So it's just my suggestion, if you wanted to have a shot at taking that zoning article up early, this would be one way to do it. And then at the conclusion of the special town meeting, we would then go back to the operating budget and the remaining articles in the warrant. The only article that would require, the only borrowing article that we have in this warrant is the acquisition of the Joyce Williams property for $1.2 million. We also had brought that one up at the November special town meeting, and my recollection is it was a unanimous vote, and then we didn't take the time out to do the ballot and checklist. And it would be nice if the ballot and checklist didn't, we have a shot at maybe being able to do that again. But in which case we might be able to get through most of the warrant in one night. But also, what we were hoping from discussions we'd had with the moderator and the town clerk is if we could have a plan going into the town meeting of when might things come up. Not that someone should stay at home and then come in just for their article, but at least let people know what's likely to come up in the first half hour, or the second half hour, and so on, that we'd spent a little time trying to figure out what that might look like this year. So.
Yeah, we took a lot of feedback from the last time meeting. We've had a couple of different discussions on how to improve things, and that's one of the ideas. Yeah. Okay, guys, what do you think about this kind of time boxing, moving that zoning on senior residential into the Annual town meeting item 3, Article 3.
Well, I think it makes sense. I mean, the seniors want to get involved and they, transportation can be challenging for them, so I personally don't have a problem. I think that we also all know that the library discussion will be a good, vibrant discussion, I'm sure, and folks want to get involved and they want to see, because I know folks have come to me and said, babysitting. We need to worry about babysitting. So have it in a special town meeting, has an opportunity to start early and hopefully get folks home in a reasonable hour, so. I have no issue with the time blocks.
I'm okay with doing it as is, but I think it speaks to a bigger problem. I mean, if you're encouraging certain populations to, come early and then leave early, well, they're not gonna be around to just deal with the other town business, and that skews who's present for certain votes, so I don't, I'm not opposed to either one of the placements of those two articles, but I think if the real issue is people having a tough time because either they need babysitting or they're older, transportation issues, in nighttime's an issue. I still think years ago when we went to a Saturday town meeting, we didn't give it enough time to work, and and the way we are close, we're pretty much ready for town meeting now. I wonder if we could move it earlier in the year. I'd just be open to keeping that topic up for discussion. Going down the road, doing an earlier town meeting and aiming for a Saturday. I mean, earlier, so that we're not running into people having
Earlier in the year.
baseball earlier in the year.
April, right?
Yeah, like in April, the snowbirds are back and the soccer and Little League hasn't started yet, that sort of thing.
How many years did we do the Saturday?
I think it was only a couple.
Two, I can think.
And it didn't work at the time we had it.
But it was also over at the, one was in the auditorium, at the gymnasium at the old high school too, or the new high school rather, and that, I think that was part of it too. We were changing location as well as.
Yeah, Diane, I was, by the time I came here, you'd already tried that experiment, but, because it was over 10 years ago, but Diane had informed us that if, it was sunny.
Right.
It was Saturday and people had other places to be.
Yep.
So, which is certainly if it's in May.
It was a beautiful day. I remember regretting walking from my house over to it. Like, oh, man.
I mean, I've had towns that the annual town meeting was in April and we get snowed out.
Yeah.
So.
Westford just had theirs last Saturday, so I mean, there's nothing magic about the timing cycle. I just think we need to make it as open to as many people as possible so that we aren't having to make accommodations for certain groups to show up at certain times.
There, just for everyone to be aware, and it's probably worth looking, that there's still plenty of interest. I mean, I singled out a few things, but the, in the annual town meeting, you've got our budget articles, you've got more zoning amendments. The planning board specifically was not looking for the accessory apartment bylaw or the moratorium on marijuana establishments to be moved up. It was a strategic, this senior housing one was, that they received the feedback, it would be important to have that one come up earlier. We've got land votes, we've got the acquisition of Joyce Williams, so there's plenty.
I know there's plenty of good
Plenty to
articles,
keep people till
but the
the
whole
end.
point of moving them earlier is our expectation that people will vote on those articles and then leave. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any point in doing it earlier.
I think that,
All right, anyway,
Yeah,
I'm on board with doing it now.
yeah, not to discount that, but certainly we've been asked to be able to tell people when things will come up, and because they have to plan around us,
Right.
so.
To the best of our ability anyways.
I'm surprised that the planning board didn't ask for Article 17 to be moved up since when they were talking about, even though it's accessory apartment, they weren't referring to the seniors. I know going to a COA meeting, one of the comments that the senior made there is that whatever we do now won't take place in our lifetime. And I said, this would be something right away. So I was just, someone could move into an accessory dwelling that's not a relative.
Right.
The intent is to age, so that seniors can age in place. right? That's
Yeah.
the intent of each of those is the same.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why that one? Okay. Do we have any other flow order of article discussion?
I think that was the big
Yeah,
bump.
let's
The
vote
rest
it.
of them are pretty straightforward, in my eyes. You ready for a motion? All right. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the order of which, in which articles appear on the warrants for May 1st, 2017 annual and special town meetings, as presented, and to direct the constable to post said warrants forthwith.
So moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this next one, 7B, refer zoning articles to planning board.
This is a procedural motion under the zoning act, and I should mention as well that I had Maren proof the warrant, and she saw where the senior residential bylaw was incorrectly titled senior residential community. Their preference now is to have it be called senior residential development, so I highlighted that word, and that should just be changed in your motion. But these are all three planning board articles. They voted to put them in the warrant, they're in the warrant, and now under the zoning act, the selectmen need to refer them back to the planning board for hearing.
So it's just a procedural thing, basically?
It's a procedural one. They've scheduled their public hearing on April 6th, Thursday, April 6th. So the night that they open the hearing on the master plan, they'll also be having their public hearings on these three zoning bylaws.
Okay.
Busy night.
Any discussion, members? Good, straightforward.
Ready? Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, subsection 5, to refer to the planning board for public hearings the following proposed amendment requested by the planning board for the May 1st, 2016 annual town meeting. 1, senior residential development. 2, accessory apartments. And 3, temporary moratorium on marijuana establishments.
Second.
Been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So Bonnie is not here. Bonnie, you won't be joining us at all?
She's in the building doing work and can come if we need her.
Okay. In case we have a question. I'm thinking
Yeah.
of D, maybe, but.
Yeah, on the budget update, the update is, there is no update, there's
Oh.
no further, there's no changes to the budget.
Okay.
It's
Second.
as it is and as it's going forward, so.
Okay. Well, why don't we
Looks
take care
balanced.
of D then?
Where did we
Oh,
find the
there's
30,000 to make whole the school committee on that vote?
Where did we?
No,
Where did we
that-
find it?
The school committee did that.
What we found, what, the 30,000?
Yeah.
The
I mean,
school-
we didn't-
School committee
No,
said
it's
they
in
were
their
taking
budget.
care of it.
Yeah, okay, all
Their
right. So it
budget,
doesn't
they-
affect our
No,
budget at all. Right.
they will keep the money in their budget, and they
Correct.
said that if we turn the water on, we send them the bill.
Okay,
So,
all right. I just wasn't sure if it had any impact bottom line. Everybody walked away happy, right?
Everybody was happy.
Guess so?
I'm not sure.
We walked in happy. Yeah, we walked in happy.
You're a tough customer. You're a bad bag.
So, there are,
Makes me grumpy.
the deadline, the publication deadline for the voter information booklet is Tuesday, April 11th, which is the day after your next meeting. So we have tonight and April 10th to adopt recommendations. I would strongly urge you that if there are non-controversial articles in here, and there are a lot, because we're in agreement on the budget, we're in agreement on the capital budget, a lot of the routine articles, if you could adopt recommendations on those, we could maybe, I think we can hit maybe 60 or 70% of the articles tonight, and if there are ones that you want to bring forward on April 10th, or at a later time, but whatever you vote as of April 10th, we can record what your recommendation is in the voter booklet.
Do you want to try to identify a
17 and
block
8
vote?
Like the hit list,
17 and 18, the zoning amendments, we'll wait for,
Wait,
board.
yeah.
we're gonna wait for.
Yeah. Maybe just to look at the, maybe to start with the special town meeting, you've got bills of prior years, we've got one bill. And here's Bonnie. We have one Bonnie and
Here's
one
Bernie.
Bill, so.
You were streaming us upstairs, weren't you?
Line item transfers, we won't have any to make under this. You've approved you've supported the amounts going into the Community Preservation Fund, but you need to recommend that, support that article. Library building project, I think you've got questions about that. There's another public forum and
Hold
a
on.
lot of information, so you could certainly schedule that for a future meeting.
That was one of my questions too, on the when could we have, and you might not have the answer right now, but just when can we have the financial outlook conversation? And is that during a regularly scheduled meeting, or do we need a
I think
special?
we can present the information at your next meeting.
Okay.
At
That'd be
April 10th.
Perfect, April 10th, okay,
And,
great, thank you.
the capital projects that you inserted both, so I'm presuming that you would be supportive of both that are in the special. And the Water Commissioner's article to change the funding source. Rather than borrow, we've already authorized borrowing, but the preference is to now use Water Enterprise Fund free cash to pay for that.
Has it been certified yet?
I just was sending everything in.
Oh, good.
So
Yeah, that's,
should be
Bonnie's been
next
upstairs
day.
doing that
Okay.
tonight, yeah. So I would say that of these, we don't need a recommendation on number 2, because we don't have
No.
anything, and you may want to.
Article 2, we're gonna have Article 2 as the,
No, I'm still in the special.
okay.
Yeah, just on this list here, that that you could support
Yeah.
1, 3, 5, and 6 in the special.
At least at this point, right?
Yeah. And then to look at the annual.
What was that slide you just said?
Zoning would wait on until after the planning board, is that correct?
Yes, yeah, as a,
Up there.
yeah, as a,
With the short list?
Yeah.
So 4, 5, 6,
He
7,
had a different one for
Oh, I
2.
did?
8, 9,
Keith, go
Yeah.
back to that slide that when you had the
11,
timeframes on it.
12, 13,
So, right there.
14.
yeah,
What's Article
15.
2 there?
the annual reports, in the annual town
On
meeting.
the annual, all right, so the special town meeting will be
The special town,
7:30.
all the special
Okay.
town meeting articles come
Gotcha.
up at 7:30.
7:30, all right.
Right.
Look,
My
It's
bad,
like-
I'm good.
What, 4 through 16 are all our articles, or?
Yes.
Yeah, in the annual town meeting,
Yes.
yes, you could do 4 through 16.
Yep, then wait on 17, 18.
You have 17 and 18, along with 3 in the annual. The 3 zoning articles, you'd wait for the planning board's report.
Yep.
19, you could discuss on the 20th, or I'm sorry, on the 10th of April, if you like. I can debrief, though, to say that Chris Stoddard and I met this morning with Darrell Baker and Kelly Clenchy. This is that article where we wanted to have the selectmen give up the athletic field on Russell Street to have it go to the schools, and the school committee was willing to have us get this property
Building.
under your, and they are okay. They are on board with the form of the article that we've come up with. One of the issues that we discussed, though, is the school committee's vote last fall asked for a surveyed plan to go along with how it would be divided up. And problem was, it was gonna cost us between $20,000 and $30,000 for the plan. I asked them if it would be okay if we could accept the plan that Chris Stoddard has done, and they were perfectly fine with that, so we were. we were in
Have they,
agreement.
have they taken a vote on it yet?
They have not, and in fact, your board and the school committee would need to take preliminary votes to actually declare, I mean, the thing that goes along with that article would be to have the school committee vote to declare this property, this part of the property is surplus,
So we
so that
hold
it
off
can go
on
to
it.
you. So
Yeah.
we can have those procedural motions
We can
at
hold
your
off
next
on it.
meeting.
Yep.
Yeah. The acquiring the land for Mill Pond
Oh, good.
restoration, the Clean Lakes Committee voted to recommend that last week. We're all set with town council. Joyce Williams, you submitted the grant application, so I think we're all set with that. You had inserted the town bylaws for that the moderator had proposed for town meeting procedures, and that finance came up with for departmental revolving funds. We had the home rule petition for two additional package store licenses, all alcoholic, anywhere in town.
But we were gonna have a hearing on that.
Yes.
I'm supportive, but could we do it on the
Sure.
10th? Have a meeting on the
Yeah,
10th?
we do, yeah, could, you
And
bet.
might be a good
So hold
opportunity.
off on that.
Well,
Sure,
it's
yeah.
probably fair to, if the board doesn't mind notifying the folks that expressed interest in the prior liquor licenses, they may well want to attend that hearing.
Okay,
I don't know
so-
who we would notify otherwise.
Yeah, well, we can put a notice in the paper and
Right.
send a specific invitation to those two, so
Yeah.
that
Before
would
we go any
be,
further, Madam Chair, I emailed you, for personal reasons, I have to leave because I have to make a trip into Boston.
Indeed.
Airport duty,
I had it covered until the plane flight was late.
we'll probably be done before you're
yeah,
out of the
we'll
parking
be
lot.
done, yeah, we'll be done in 5 minutes, I think.
Thank you,
See you later,
Selectman
Joe.
Lawson.
Say hi to Kathy. And Kenzie, too.
Yeah, I definitely want to have that,
Yeah.
that hearing and that conversation, because I'm still swallowing hard on number 24.
Okay, so,
No quibble with that.
so we'll have a hearing on the 10th on on the subject of Article 24.
And I don't know, I mentioned this earlier, we promised, and I still want to do a separate night presentation on the sewer thing, because it's complicated enough, there's been updates with the engineers, but I don't know whether we should have any kind of hearing on that or not, in addition, or, I suppose if we have, I guess if we're having a public information session, the public's invited, that ought to cover it.
I think if you posted that as a selectmen's meeting,
Yeah.
because presumably a quorum of you would be there out of
We just gotta find a
interest.
date that works.
Yeah, yeah. We're allowed to have that conversation
Right.
outside of a meeting, so
Right.
we'll try a doodle pad or a doodle
Okay.
poll or something and see if we can
I threw some
pick a
dates
date.
out there.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh,
we
you
can start
did?
with those, yeah.
All right, my phone has been going crazy. If you sent something out, I haven't seen it.
No, it was it had like town meeting, public info sessions and an Excel sheet.
Okay,
It's like
I
geeky
saw the
email.
email but didn't see the attachment, sorry, I'll
Yeah.
look at that.
No worries, and then in there I threw out some dates for
Good.
library.
Good.
Yeah.
That's the other one, the library
Yeah,
one.
library,
I'm sorry,
library
not-
is the other one.
the other one, yeah.
So the liquor licenses, sewer project, library, we want to have public
License,
information
sewer,
there.
library.
But the
Got it.
liquor license is fine for the regular meeting, right?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that should be fine.
How many more
So,
meetings did you just add? 4, 5?
We
No,
did
one,
How many?
one. And you
One.
don't even have to come if you don't want. This is a-
one for
I'm
the-
all
one
in
for
here,
the
what are you
sewer.
talking about?
So, let's see,
4 through 16.
Yep,
Yeah, 4 through
21,
16,
22,
well, with the exception of 3.
27,
17.
28, 29, 30, I think, right?
Yeah, well, 17, 18, 19, and 24 we won't act on, so.
Right.
But 25 and 26,
26
go
are,
ahead.
those are voter petitions.
Yeah, so we don't.
Generally don't.
Right, we don't take a
Nothing
position on them. The water commission did not take a position on either one either.
Okay.
So 27,
Yeah, 27 is a routine article, 28 is new, I don't know, we have questions about that, I don't know if there's,
I can explain that.
okay.
go ahead.
Bonnie can explain 28.
So basically, since we're going to be looking at issuing some debt, some significant debt this year for the fire station and alumni, what happens frequently when you issue debt is you get a bond premium, which they're paying you a cash payment up front. If it's excluded debt, you apply that over a long term to the note. This is not excluded debt. So the rule is, or was prior to November, you have to, you take that in as a general fund receipt, so it's just a cash infusion to the general fund. We would rather apply it to reduce the debt that we place. So in order to do that on previously authorized debt, we have to ask permission to do that.
okay.
Going forward, we won't have to do that again. It's just kind of an anomaly where we already authorized the alumni and fire station debt. So,
Procedural.
yes,
Compensating balances?
that's every year.
Another procedural one.
So it looks like special town, we have no 2, 4 we won't talk about, which is library zoning amendments, 3 of them, which is in the annual 3, 17, 18. 19 is the town hall. We'll wait for the votes from us and the school committee. The home rule petitions, we don't take a position on.
Well,
And,
no, that's all we're gonna have a hearing on.
no, I'm sorry, the voter,
Voter.
yeah, the home rule is the one we're gonna have a hearing on, then the 2 voter petitions, so. I'm ready.
Go for it, brother.
Yeah, make a motion, brother.
All right, here we go. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to support the following articles in the May 1st, 2017 annual and special town meeting warrants to be directed preparation of the motions to be moved and seconded by said board, specifically special town meeting. It starts at 7:30. Article 1, bills of prior year. Article 3, FY 2017 appropriations into blended community preservation act. Article 5, 2017 capital plan amendments. Article 6, amend source funding and acquisition for 34 Cedar Road Water Commissions. Annual town meeting. Article 1, town offices. Article 2, annual report. Financial articles. Article 4, operating budget 2018. Article 5, 2018 revolving funds. Article 6, 2018 water enterprise fund. Article 7, Park and Rec Community Education Enterprise Fund. Article 8, 2018, FY 2018 capital items from available funds. Article 9, 2018 Community Preservation Budget. Article 10, Personal Bylaw Amendments. Article 11, Stabilization Fund. Article 12, Capital Stabilization Fund. Article 13, Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund. Article 14, Trust Fund Grant. Article 15, Senior Citizens and Veterans Tax Work-Off Abatement Programs. Article 16, use of Mass. Chapter 90 funds. Articles requiring supermajority vote. Article 20, acquire land 101 Harvard Road. Article 20, that was Article 20. Article 21, acquire land 31 Boxborough Road, Joyce Williams, conservation purposes. Other articles including routine authorizations and reauthorizations. Article 22, bylaw amendment, town meeting procedures. Article 23, town bylaw amendment, departmental revolving funds. Article 27, borrowing authorization. Article 28, supplemental prior borrowing votes to permit application for sale premium to pay project costs. Article 29, compensating balance agreement, and Article 30, FY 2018 personal exemption amounts.
Second.
Moved in second. All those in favor say aye. If you can
Aye.
talk. Aye. Okay, I had something to say. What was it before I forgot? Oh, man, that long motion made me forget what it was. Okay, we'll take a position. We have one more meeting, you said, Keith, April 10th, to talk about any of the rest of them.
Right, at your April 10th meeting, if you do take further recommendations, those we will be able to include in the voter information booklet that goes out. If you still need more time on anything, that we meet again on the 24th.
What's our agenda on the 10th looking like right now?
Well, you have the presentation on the multiple age group community center that we weren't able to fit in tonight. You'll be doing recommendations on these articles. Gosh, what else?
That's enough.
Yeah. It looked like a full agenda when the staff was reviewing it this morning, so.
Just toying with the idea, maybe we could do the presentation of the sewer then, but it'd be probably too quick if we wanted to include our engineer.
Yeah.
If we're
That's
gonna include the
definitely
engineer,
a nice independent meeting.
Yeah.
That's very
Yeah, I
important.
think you're right. Okay,
Please do.
very good.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bob.
Jim, this is what it is right now.